Hey everyone. Okay, so today I want to discuss do what feels right inside. Like, choose what is truthful for you. And that's what I want to discuss today with ChatGPT. See where we come out with, see where we go, and then hopefully there's some learnings along the way, there's some golden nuggets, and maybe there's some stuff for you to explore that you might be able to pick up in between what I pick out. So, without further ado, here we go. I want to explore doing what feels right to you inside. So choosing what is true for you, because I understand that what is true for one person is maybe not true for the next. I also understand that the way that I perceive the world is based on the conditioning and the experiences that I've had, and the awareness and the learnings and the ability to comprehend those instances in the past. And whilst I acknowledge that I might have comprehended them the right way, wrong way, in terms of maybe not even understanding how I comprehend it, but living that through the perspective that I have on it, I'd like to, and I also know that something is neither good nor bad, but how you think of it. That's from William Shakespeare's Hamlet. Um, and that's very, very true, because I could think of something as being bad, whereas another person could think of something as being good, and it could be the exact same thing, but we're seeing it from a different lens, we're seeing it from a different experience. That doesn't mean to say that I'm wrong or the other person is wrong. So I want to basically understand like the fundamental truths. And where I'm kind of going with this is you can get lost in your thoughts. Like, I'm an overthinker. I think quite a lot in terms of what this could mean, what avenue that would take. And I spiral in my thoughts in terms of like being able to articulate and think and hold different perspectives at the same time. And yet, what I've been doing more and more of is actually just coming back to what feels right for me. And it's a feeling, it's a gut instinct. And there's studies that show that there's a link between the gut and the brain and what have you. Like, that's a different conversation for a different day. For now, it's about actually trusting your feelings and what that looks like, what that means, and how one goes about doing that. So if you could help me with that as an initial start, and then we can move from there.
Absolutely. Let's dive in and keep it nice and grounded. I get what you mean. When we talk about doing what feels right inside, we're really talking about learning to trust that inner compass. And that's not just a fluffy idea. It's something you can feel in your bones, so to speak. In real life, this often shows up in those tiny everyday moments. Maybe you're deciding whether to take on a new project or to say no to an invitation. And yeah, it's kind of like tuning into the signals your body sends you. For instance, you might notice that when something feels off, there's a tension or a heaviness. When something feels right, there's more ease or a sense of alignment. As you mentioned, it's all shaped by your own experiences, your conditioning, and the way you've come to understand the world. None of this is about right or wrong in a universal sense. It's about recognizing that your truth might not be someone else's truth, and that's perfectly okay. So let's start there. We'll explore how to trust those feelings and what it means in practical, everyday terms. We'll unpack it step by step so you can really see how to lean into what feels right for you.
Perfect. Could you unpack it step by step for me?
Absolutely. Let's break it down piece by piece. We'll start from the ground up so it's as clear as day. First, think about a really simple, everyday choice you've made recently. Something that didn't have huge stakes, like deciding whether to meet a friend for coffee or choosing which book to read next. Now, notice how your body responded at the time. Maybe when you thought about meeting that friend, you felt a little spark of energy, or maybe maybe you felt a bit of heaviness if you were already tired. That's the first step, just paying attention to those small physical cues that show up before your mind even puts a label on them. Next, let's move through the body or senses. Once you notice those feelings, it's about letting them be real without overthinking them. For example, if your shoulders relax when you consider one option, that's a sign. If your jaw tightens with another, that's another sign. We're just reading the body's language here. From there, we expand into thought and awareness. Once you tune into those bodily cues, you start to recognize patterns. You'll see that certain choices consistently bring that sense of ease or lightness, and others don't. And you'll also realize that this isn't about judging yourself or labeling something as good or bad. It's just about understanding what feels true for you. Finally, we open this into a kind of universal truth. Everyone's got their own internal compass, shaped by their own experiences and perspectives. And the more we trust that, the more we give others the space to trust theirs as well. It's a way of living that starts inside you and then ripples outward into how you connect with others. So we're really just starting from noticing those small signals, then understanding them, and finally allowing them to guide you. And in my experience, that's a pretty solid way to start. Let's keep going from there.
Thank you. I found that quite insightful. In terms of how I'd like to take this conversation, though, is you mentioned to be able to articulate one's self, like one's feelings, and being able to see like the clenching of a jaw or the uptick in energy or the downgrade in energy. So what I want to know here is something that's kind of hidden behind what you're saying is how I am today might not be the version that I want to grow into. The version I want to grow into might be more confident or self-assured or speak in a different way or hold space or whatever it is, right? Whatever I could be working towards is a version that I have not yet become or embodied in a day-to-day way of making it a habit and creating a personality of that desired attribute or characteristic or trait, right? So that being said, how can I acknowledge when there are hurdles that I'm restricting myself from because of a lack or a different perspective on those things? So a case in point would be, for instance, meeting up with a friend, right? For me, that in a moment that could be tiring. I could feel like, oh, I need to do that instead of that, and I don't have time for this, and I could come up with reasons as to why I shouldn't meet that person and prioritize other things. But at the same time, that might be because, as this example, I might be introverted, shy, lacking confidence, or whatever it is. So I might be restricting myself out of comfort, out of learned habit. And therefore I would trust my feelings, but my feelings would just be a display of what's gone before and the choices that I previously made, rather than me actually stretching myself in a safe way, in a safe space, in order to get the desired impact and growth in the areas that I want to grow. So how do I see those feelings for the right feelings of what they are, and basically be able to discern between that and comfort / lack of growth? If you could help me out with that, please.
Absolutely. Let's untangle that, because you've hit on a really important piece of this whole puzzle. It's kind of like we're peeling back layers here. One layer is about listening to what feels right, and another layer is about recognizing when those feelings are actually coming from old habits or comfort zones rather than genuine growth. So here's how we can break it down step by step. First, we start with the baseline, noticing those physical and emotional cues, just like we talked about. That's the first step to understanding what your current self is telling you. But then we add the next layer, which is about recognizing when those feelings are actually just the pull of old conditioning or a familiar pattern. For example, if you're feeling that hesitation about meeting a friend, it's worth asking yourself, is this hesitation because I genuinely need rest, or because I'm moving towards something else that's meaningful? Or is it just a habit of staying in my comfort zone because that's what I've always done? In other words, we're learning to tell the difference between a feeling that's genuinely guiding us toward growth and a feeling that's just repeating an old pattern. It's like checking in with yourself and asking, is this feeling coming from who I want to become, or is it coming from who I've been? And from there, it's about giving yourself permission to gently test those edges. If you suspect a certain feeling is just the comfort zone talking, you might choose to step a little outside of it, just to see what happens. You don't have to push yourself into something overwhelming, but you can experiment with choosing the option that feels like growth and see how your body responds afterward. Often you'll find that a little bit of discomfort on the front end leads to a sense of expansion or confidence on the back end. So in short, we're learning to discern which feelings are pointing us toward who we want to become and which are just repeating old patterns. And we do that by tuning in, asking ourselves those honest questions, and then taking small steps that align with the version of ourselves we're growing into. Let's keep building from there.
Could you create a 3-step practical way in which we can repeat that no matter what the topic is or what the subject is, to be able to then apply it in everyday life? So an easy way for that to happen.
Absolutely. Let's put it into a simple 3-step approach you can use no matter the situation. And we'll keep it nice and straightforward so you can just slip it into daily life. Step 1 is just what we said. Tune into your body. Before you make a decision, pause for a moment and notice what's happening physically. Are you feeling tension, ease, a little rush of excitement? This is just about observing those signals without judgment, so you can get a feel for what your body's telling you. Step 2 is to ask yourself the clarifying question. Is this feeling coming from the version of me I want to grow into? Or is it coming from an old habit or a place of comfort? You don't have to have a perfect answer, just give yourself a moment to reflect. If it's a pattern you've seen before, like always saying no out of habit, you'll start to recognize that. Step 3 is to take a small, intentional step that aligns with who you want to become. If you sense that growth lies in pushing past a bit of discomfort, then take that small action. It might be as simple as saying yes to that coffee meetup just to see how it feels. Over time, these little choices help you build a habit of moving in the direction you want to grow. In other words, it's just about noticing, reflecting, and then choosing a small action that leans toward the version of yourself you're aiming to be. And you can apply that to any topic or situation that comes up.
Great. Thank you very much.
You're absolutely welcome. And that's exactly it. Just a simple little rhythm you can use in any situation to kind of steer yourself toward that version of you that you're growing into. So feel free to weave it into your day-to-day life and just see how it unfolds. And of course, we can always dive deeper or explore more if you'd like.